Magandang araw, kababayan! You're tuned into NTTE News. We will be discussing the most pressing issues here in the Philippines and how it will affect our country. I am Charmaine Del Mundo, your news anchor. Today, we will be diving into some major topics shaping our economy, the usage of confidential funds from different government departments, the upcoming 2025 midterm elections, and the overall status of the Philippines economics. After that, we'll have some insight of students of BPSU main campus about the importance of contemporary global governance and some positive and negative effects of globalization on governments. First, we will be hearing from Mr. Carl.
Confidential funds are budget allocated to government agencies, often without strict transparency. These funds are usually necessary for national security and intelligence, law enforcement, and peace and order. Recently, there has been a controversy regarding the allocation of confidential funds to government offices that are not directly involved in national security. According to the reports, in 2023, it is revealed that the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education received 125 million pesos in confidential funds in 2022, despite having no approved budget for it. Critics argue that these funds could be used in political agendas instead of national security. To break this down, we have a recorded video of Mr. Joper Mendoza, a public finance expert. Welcome.
Hello, good day NTTE News. First of all, thank you for having me here. Confidential funds can be useful for national security, but if there's lack of transparency, there's a risk for it to be misused. The issue with confidential funds is that there is an exemption from full auditing, meaning the public doesn't always know where their money goes. So, some people lose trust in government and some agencies, like the Office of the Vice President and the DepEd, because they have requested these large amounts of money, worth 375 million in 2023. This will raise concerns for our kababayan, because these offices are not traditionally intelligence-related offices. Also, allocating too much to confidential funds might take away essential services like education and healthcare, which could slow down economic growth.
As has been said, many people have claimed that transparency is key. If the government insists on having confidential funds, there should be a stronger oversight mechanisms. Maybe a select group in Congress reviewing expenditures behind closed doors.
That's a good point. Many Filipinos struggle with inflation and unemployment, yet billions go into funds with limited oversight. It's crucial for the government to ensure accountability. Thank you, Mr. Carl. Now let's head to 2025 midterm elections with Mr. Francis.
Yes, good day everyone. I'm Francis. The COMELEC has estimated that there would be 68 million voters that will participate in the upcoming 2025 midterm elections. The voters from different parts of the Philippines will elect over 18,000 officials, sub-senators, 254 district representatives, 63 party list representatives, and 17,942 governors, provincial board members, mayors, and councilors. This year's election will also cover parliamentary position in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Although this midterm election may bring big changes, they also come with economic and political consequences. As the Philippines approaches its 2025 midterm elections, the Senate is experiencing notable political tensions that extend beyond the well-publicized Duterte-Marcos feud. Under the banner of opposition ng Bayan, the Makabayan Coalition, which represents progressive sectors, recently announced its intention to field a 12-member senatorial slate. The objective of this action is to provide other venues that address social justice and anti-corruption, as well as challenging the power of conventional political families. Vigilance against disinformation and manipulation of public opinion is necessary since the 2025 elections may serve as a model for internet and influence operations. The outcomes of these elections will significantly influence the country's legislative direction and political stability in the upcoming years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francis, for the information that you supplemented for the upcoming 2025 midterm election. As we're heading to our last topic, let's call Mr. Ivan for the Philippine economic status.
Good day, everyone. I'm Ivan. The rising cost of living, jobs are getting scarce. The national debt is growing. Due to inflation, and low-income families are struggling to buy their basic needs like rice, meat, water, rent, and fuel. Adding to this, our country also has a debt of trillions of pesos that will take generations to pay off. To give us a clearer picture, please welcome we have an economist, Mr. Iro Nacional.
Morning, sir. So right now, the economy of the Philippines is spot driven by global factors and local supply issues. The inflation is still increasing. The incomes of Filipinos are not increasing fast enough to keep up with the cost of living, which is why many Filipinos feel they are working harder but earning less. Some of them chose to work abroad, hoping they could make a better living for their families.
That's something a lot of people are experiencing. What about our debt situation?
In the past years, our government has borrowed a lot internationally, especially during pandemic. Although borrowing is normal, we need to make sure the loans are being used for productive developments, not just paying off previous debts if not managed well. It could lead to higher taxes in the future.
The reports are that says unemployment is going down. However, many Filipinos are still struggling to find a stable job. Can you tell us more about it?
The newly created jobs are usually low-paying and contractual. Many workers do not have any benefits, and that is a problem in the field of industry right now. In the Philippines, the government needs to focus on sustainable creation in industries like technology, manufacturing, renewable resources to support the Filipinos.
Thank you for the information, Mr. Iro Nacional.
Thank you also, sir.
That's all. Get back to you, Miss Charmin Del Mundo.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ivan. Now let's have again with Mr. Carl and Mr. Francis for our next topic.
Now, let's have Mr. Cristan Manalansan, a second-year Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering student from BPSU. Hello, sir. Since you have a contemporary world subject, what is the most important thought that you have learned in contemporary global governance?
First of all, thank you for having me. For me, global governance is the political and economic interaction of transnational actors aimed at solving problems that affect more than one state or region. It is a campaign toward the unification of multinational actors that seeks on negotiating answers to problems that have an effect on more than one state or region. Its intention is to give global public goods, specifically in peace and security, justice, and mediation system for conflict, functioning markets, and joint standards for commerce and industry. Also, it is important because the problems and the opportunities that are experienced globally by mankind are still increasing.
Alright, thank you for that informative answer. And for the last one, based on what you have already learned, give us some good and bad effects of globalization in the government.
I guess one good thing is that government can totally cooperate more on, big problems like climate change or pandemics. It's easier to share info and resources now. It is also easier for governments to access new tech and ideas from other countries that can help them run things better and be more efficient. But like, a major bummer is that governments can lose some of their power. You know, big corporation can sometimes have more influence than like the actual government, especially with trade deals and stuff. And also, it's harder for government to control what info people see. You know, with the internet and social media, like fake news and foreign influence are way harder to deal with.
Thank you, Mr. Manalansan, for that very smart answer. That's all for now. Back to you, Miss Del Mundo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carl, Mr. Francis, and Mr. Ivan. That's it for today's news and discussion. Those are the biggest and the most talked about news in contemporary world. It's clear that these issues affect us all, so we need to engage, stay informed. Thank you to our expert guests and to all our listeners. Keep tuning into NTT News for more in-depth discussions. Again, I am Charmaine Del Mundo. Maraming salamat at ingat, Philippines!